the Zero Hour. I, as always, am your host, Richard RJ Eskow. We're seeing a lot of bipartisan handkerchief waving and tearful goodbyes at the prospect of Senator Mitt Romney retiring from politics. If you know anything about me, you know my handkerchief has remained, well, I don't have a handkerchief, but if I had one, it would have remained firmly folded in my vest pocket if I had a vest pocket. I'm not a fan of Mitt Romney's, never have been, and I think it's important to have that conversation not out of spite, but because something that should be in your life that you should be very happy about when it comes to the departure of Mitt Romney is your future or current Social Security benefits. Here to talk with us about that now, and really, let's just say using perhaps Mitt Romney is a jumping off point to talk about how his whole party feels about Social Security. It's my good friend Alex Lawson. Alex is the executive director of Social Security Works. He is a longtime activist and policy expert in this area, and he's had his own experiences with Mitt Romney too. So without any further ado, Alex Lawson, welcome back to the Zero Hour.
Thanks for having me.
So I of course, but now I wrote a little while back a piece called "For a Nice Guy, Mitt Romney Sure Is Mean About Social Security." And astonishingly, Common Dreams used my subheading, which was, Troy may have to cut this out, but for a man who cultivates such politesse, the senator acts, dare I say it, like an asshole. And what triggered that was not Mitt Romney's experience as a vulture capitalist. He really, in many ways, invented the dark art of vulture capitalism that exists today, or any of the other things in his past. It was an exchange between Romney and you, which fascinated me. Do you remember that exchange?
It's hard to forget. I was testifying in front of the budget committee. It was really one of my prouder moments. He was so angry at me for telling the truth about his plan to cut Social Security. That's all I was doing. I was actually just going around the dais and telling the truth about all of the Republican plans to cut Social Security. And Richard, that's one of the things they hate the most. They never stop trying to cut Social Security, but they hate being called on it because they know how deeply unpopular it is.
And Romney resorted with you to, what they like to call ad hominem attacks, as these guys so often do. A hilarious little exchange here where Romney, for a very, very long, probably 400 words, paragraph, attacks the idea of think tanks, which I suppose, is his conception of Social Security works. He goes on insulting think tanks. What we need, we don't need more think tanks, he says. We need more do tanks. How do we get something done? He goes on and on. Now our challenge with Social Security, blah, blah, blah. We should be doing something about it. Why do you say that? Blah, blah, blah. Don't you think Senator Warner and Senator Manchin want to cut back? And at the end of all this, your response is, so is that a question? And his response is, yeah. Which it wasn't, of course. It was a diatribe. But this gets to the whole concept. I don't want to just go medieval on Senator Romney, although we could, and I would enjoy it. But this gets to the whole concept. The way he frames it is so important because we've seen it from so many different people's lips on both sides of the aisle, but consistently among Republicans, and for the last few years, I think only among Republicans, we've seen this idea that Social Security has, quote unquote, a problem, air quotes around it, that needs to be, air quotes, fixed. And so we need a commission, bipartisan, just to roll up our sleeves to get things done. This is, so let's take those propositions one at a time, Alex. Lawson, number one, does Social Security have a problem?
No. Social Security is a solution to a problem. The problem of lost wages. It's this incredibly efficient and effective. I've said it before, and no one has. I'm not going to say the best, but it's definitely one of the top 3 best things the government has ever done. Is Social Security, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the government really doesn't do that much in it. Like, yes, there's a huge administration, all administered for less than 1% of the premiums paid in. But as you know, Richard, it's a giant insurance program. And so it's the workers who are doing everything. It's our benefits. We pay in during our working lives, excuse me, and then it's there for us when we need it. If we lose wages because we retire, if we lose wages because we face a life-changing event and become disabled and can no longer work, or for the surviving children in the loss of the breadwinner in the family with survivor's benefits. All of those functions, it's something that can only it's only possible as social insurance. And that is why it's such an immensely popular program across every which way you cut it. It's popular. It doesn't matter by party, race, ethnicity, age. Everybody loves it, except for Wall Street. So I think the answer to your question is Social Security doesn't have a problem. It suffers from billionaires just like the rest of the world, right? That's the problem. Social Security is a problem for billionaires on Wall Street because they can't make any money off of it. And that's where Mitt Romney comes from. Mitt Romney, I am here to say good riddance. That dude is terrible. He's polite while he's doing evil. You're like, I don't care about polite. Like the genteel slave owners in antebellum South, I don't give them kudos for being polite. Like I judge a person on their actions. And what Mitt Romney has spent his life doing is extracting wealth from working people so that he alone could have more wealth than he could ever spend in, dozens of lifetimes. I don't give any kudos for that. I give a lot of judgment to that, which I did get the chance to do to his face. And that's why he was so angry at me, which made me really happy. But Social Security does not have any problem other than billionaires spending all of their waking hours trying to destroy it and not paying in at the same rate as the rest of us. So I don't want to get too, jump around too much.
No, but I want to get into that part of it right now, because the one thing that they'll always say in response to that is, but it's going broke. And I think it's worth noting that however many trillion it has in its trust funds right now, yes, they're going to be depleted at some point if things don't change. But the Pentagon is broke, quote unquote. It's such misleading terminology. First of all, the Pentagon is broke right now. Pentagon doesn't have a trust fund. No other government programs except Medicare that I know of, and I think one other, have trust fund. So this business about going broke is absurd. But more to the point is what you just said, that the fact is, I did the calculations once and figured out that Jeff Bezos reaches his maximum contribution to Social Security in the first 10 seconds of the new year. And I thought that can't be right. I'm not going to write about that. And then there was a thing in Fortune magazine, Jeff Bezos reaches his maximum at 10 seconds. Damn it, I should have used that. But the fact is that's true. And that this one combined with the grotesque economic inequality we now live in, where the rich are getting even, ultra rich are getting even richer, and so on. The only thing that is of legitimate concern, and we've had multiple programs to address it, is that eventually these billionaires are going to have to kick in a little bit more of their fair share. And somehow all these commissions, so Mitt Romney and all his words here, he never says, he quotes the Washington Post, which is notorious about not mentioning this either, but Medicare and Social Security disaster is something that Washington's doing nothing to fix. Well, we could tax you, Mitt Romney. How about that? Because if we tax guys like you, it's done. Am I overstating the simplicity of it right now?
No, that's totally correct. And that's the so I stopped going into the policy detail, but we should spend a second on it. People only pay in on the first around $160,000 of wages. After that, zero goes in. So what that means is that the richer you are, the less you pay into Social Security, and the ultra rich have also these armies of lawyers to just hide all of their income, like they're in offshore bank accounts and golden yachts and whatever it is that they do. Their whole game is not playing by the rules. And the con, like Mitt Romney, I think Mitt Romney is one of the guys who has the $1 billion IRA, like Peter Thiel, I think, has the other one, right? Where they cheated. They cheat the system because they have armies of lawyers set up to do that. And what they're saying is, oh, we've got to do something, because what they mean by something is always the same. It's cut benefits. I want to do something about Social Security. In fact, the only people who have a plan for Social Security are the Democrats in Congress. You have Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who have a bill to expand benefits by $200 a month for every single person forever, and put it in solvency into the next century. And it pays for it all just by getting rid of the cap above incomes of $250,000 a year on all of their income. So that's a solution. Mitt Romney, in the exchange, he just says no, right? I say that's the solution. It was Bernie Sanders was the chair of the committee. That's what we were talking about, was his bill. But Mitt Romney just pretends that is not, real, that's not, oh, everybody knows that's not passing. And I'm like, everybody, meaning you work to not let this pass. Now you go out and ask the American people, and Republicans and Democrats. Majority of Republicans support Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's bill. In the House, you have John Larson's bill, which again expands benefits for everybody, and it pays for it by raising the cap over incomes of $400,000 a year. That's a solution. The vast majority, almost the entire Democratic caucus, is on that bill. The Democrats have legislation that will fix Social Security's billionaire problem, which is the only problem it has, is that it's infested with billionaires like this world, who are not playing by the rules, not paying their fair share. And we fix that problem, the billionaire problem, and everybody wins except the billionaires. So the billionaires, what they do is they build an entire edifice. It's funny that he was bringing up think tanks, because Social Security Works is not a think tank, right? Like I love policy, but we definitely we do stuff. That's why I was there. They build think tanks, like Pete Peterson, the late Pete Peterson, Richard Nixon's commerce secretary, this billionaire. He dedicated his entire fortune to destroying Social Security. And he has just an armada of BS think tanks that put out paper after paper after paper, making it seem like Social Security has a problem that needs to be fixed by cutting benefits, which is just false. Social Security has a problem with billionaires not paying into Social Security. So all we're asking is for billionaires to pay the same rate on all of their income, just like the vast majority of Americans do. Majority of Americans make under $160,000 a year. So they're paying on 100% of their income. And Jeff Bezos should do the same. I would go further and have an estate tax at above 1 billion and just 99% estate tax above 1 billion, dedicate that to Social Security and expand benefits wildly for everyone. But that's, the Alex Lawson proposal. I just think that billionaires are the problem over and over and over again. And Mitt Romney's one of them. Bain Capital. They're parasites. They don't actually, you don't make $1 billion by doing something. You make $1 billion by exploiting working people, stealing their productivity, and or inheriting it from a previous generation who did that. Behind what's the line? Behind every great fortune is an even greater crime. That's true. So we should look at the actual problem, which is billionaires. And deal with the actual problem, which is billionaires. And Social Security is one of the solutions to that. We can actually arrest and reverse inequality using Social Security. We just got to get the billionaires to pay into it.
Now, one of the reasons why I felt comfortable calling Mitt Romney an asshole, which is not normally something I say about people, well, it is, but I mean, publicly, that this is someone, first of all, who had elevators built in his garage because he had too many luxury cars to keep them on one floor. And yet he's talking about cutting benefits for women on Social Security who on average make receive $900 a month or something. So that pretty much takes you out of the good guy category. And to me, this is telling, maybe this is a way to pivot to the rest of his bedeviled part. You said, he kept talking about, let's do something. He said, well, I recognize that the problem is a 23% benefit cut that you keep bringing up, but the solution Republicans put forward is a 23% benefit cut. That's not a solution. It's just the problem sooner. And he scolds you. And this is what I think is worth talking about. He talks about it as if it was an act of God. The Social Security Trust Fund goes away by 2034, at which point benefits are cut automatically. I'm not for that. I'm trying to keep that from happening. So what solution do you, meaning people like us, have for solving Social Security on a bipartisan basis? So I think it's important. What I take that to mean is by bipartisan, they mean we Republicans are not going to raise taxes on billionaires or the ultra wealthy in general. So what solution can you come up with that does the only other thing you can do, which is cut benefits, so that instead of it happening automatically, I get my political opponents to sign on to doing it deliberately? But it's the same damn thing, isn't it?
It is. And delving into it a little bit more, the truth is that, first of all, the trust fund exhaustion is exactly as planned. I know you know that, but it sounds, I think, to people as if that's a mistake or rare. This is actually what the trust fund is set up to do. When the trust fund is exhausted, the dedicated revenue of Social Security keeps the program going. So there's no such thing as Social Security going bankrupt or going away, because the money, we see it's coming out of our paychecks. So the trust fund was basically the baby boom generation pre-funding a bunch of their retirement, and it was always meant to be drawn down. Now, you look at history and you look at what's happening. And you can ask, you can call Andrew Biggs. He's the only honest one of our opponents about this. he knows the closer we get to the exhaustion date itself, which is right around 2033, 2034, it moves in and out based on economic activity. The harder it is for them to cut benefits, the easier it is for us to raise taxes. That's why they're trying to do it soon, when the action forcing event is next week. And everyone is like, oh my God, my Social Security benefits are going to go down 20%. The Republicans can't then be like, oh, but what if we actually cut your benefits by 20%? And people are like, no, that's what we're trying to avoid. Does anyone else have a solution? And we're all like, yeah, tax billionaires, and then we can increase benefits. So the reason that they try to stir up all this anxiety about Social Security is they know that just waiting is actually in our favor. So this is one of the cases where taking a bad deal now is absolutely worse than no deal until we get closer to the actual date, which in our parlance we call the action forcing event. There's an enormous amount of political pressure that's created right then, and the Republicans will get hammered if they try to propose their cuts as a solution to cuts that are coming, in the next couple weeks. They're so scared of proposing their solutions that they never want to. You alluded to it just then, or you actually said it. They always set up. They don't put a bill forward, right? Like the Democrats have these bills. I went over two of them. There's more. Senator Casey has a bill. Senator Wyden has a bill. These are solutions. The Republicans never put their bills forward because they're so deeply unpopular. They always put forward a commission. The House Republicans budget chair just did this again, where they put forward a commission that's empowered to cut Social Security and Medicare because they want the Democrats to take the hit for cutting Social Security and Medicare. And that's the entirety of their game. Make it seem like there is no money. Make it seem like you're going to get nothing so that you're willing to accept less than you're owed. And it's our job to just continually remind people that, in fact, the billionaires don't control this one. The only way that they can cut our benefits is if we allow our benefits to be cut, if we allow a bill to actually pass that cuts our benefits. And I can't help but notice just how much organizing and, UAW, SAG-AFTRA, WGA, these strike, the UPS, the Teamsters strike, people are understanding how much power the workers have right now. And with Social Security, it's just like that, except it's everyone in the United States versus the handful of billionaires. So that's what they're scared of. They know what happens if they can't con people into cutting our own benefits. Then we're definitely going to raise taxes on them. That's what it's all about. They just don't want to pay their fair share. They're just greedy. That's all it is. They want you said it, just think about it. A dude who has elevators for his cars, right? Or Jeff Bezos, these billionaires who have obscene amounts of wealth. And they're saying that they shouldn't pay more in taxes, but a 99-year-old woman who's living on $900 to $1,200 a month. And for a huge amount of Americans, that's the vast majority of the money. That's it. That's what they're living on. And they're saying they're going to cut that. They want to starve people. They want people to be forced to starve, to not be able to pay their bills rather than just play by the rules like the rest of us do. So the problem, again, is billionaires.
And it's considered rude sometimes in this town of Washington, D.C. to bring that up, but people can't be separated from the real life consequences of their opinions and their actions. So this is why, and it's interesting, an interesting dimension of this for me, and well, you've been in the trenches on Social Security for quite a while, is how the landscape has changed politically over the last 15 years or so. That if you had told me even 4 years ago that Democrats would be resisting the idea of a commission, that President Biden would be resisting the idea of a commission. President Clinton was open to it.
Can I just say, just on President Biden, he didn't just resist the idea. I would not have believed even like this year, and Joe Biden has surprised me in a positive direction more than I expected. But this one, he called Mitt Romney's commission a death panel. He called it a Social Security death panel. That is amazing. And that is markedly different than what you were just talking about, President Clinton, even President Obama.
And yet the Republicans are clinging to this idea of a commission for the reasons you suggested. So we have now, I think the fellow's name is Jody Arrington in the House. I think he's the House Budget Committee.
This is the official House Republican position. It's that dude, but this is House Republicans' plan.
Shoot, what is it?
So first of all, I do think it's interesting. They just straightforwardly cut Medicaid, which is the largest provider of long-term care in this country and is deeply popular. And so we're going to hammer them on that, but they still are cowards when it comes to their plan to cut Social Security and Medicare. So they create a commission that is sole purpose is to cut Social Security and Medicare. Like, what else is it for? You remember when we were organizing against the Bull-Simpson Commission under President Obama, the BS Commission. And again, it was the Republicans who forced the creation of the BS Commission. So they are just trying to repeat what they did. But the amazing thing is the Democrats are really resisting and doing the right thing and just saying, you'll get nothing. That's what the Republicans should get for taking hostage when they shut down the government. Again, the billionaires, they don't get hurt. They're fine on their little private island or whatever. But seniors who need to call or go to a Social Security office, which is already too hard because they're starving the agency, the Republicans are, they're going to find it to be even harder, longer lines, longer wait times. It's hurting the seniors. So the leverage that they're creating with a government shutdown is hurting seniors, hurting veterans, hurting people with disabilities in order to create the political leverage to push forward cuts to Social Security benefits. It is an overt war on seniors, and that's what the Republicans are doing. And they know that it's political suicide to actually do that in the open. So they just talk about it in any way possible other than saying, I'm coming to reach my hand into your pocket and steal the benefits that you've earned during your working life. Because if they said that is what they're proposing. That's exactly what they're proposing. But if they said that, they'd be out of a job next election.
And to underscore that, Alex Lawson, last year I wrote a piece how the GOP could win its long war against Social Security for the American prospect. They've hated it, tried to destroy it from the beginning. Mike Kelly on that Ways and Means Committee, Republican, said, and I quote, "The honest conversation is the conversation that can't be had," meaning they have to lie. Our friend Jody Arrington said something to the effect of, "We can't talk about it publicly because it would be political suicide," or words to that effect. So, and Mitt Romney, the Saint Mitt of Utah, is tried to run something like this through his Trust Act as well, so-called Orwellian name there. So they're definitely going to try by hook or by crook, mostly crook, to push something through. And that article of mine, it was not particularly pressing of me, said they would probably use a government shutdown, threat of a government shutdown as blackmail to do. They've done it before, so there's no particular foresight involved. What can people do to resist that and stiffen the spine of Democrats and weigh in on the side of activists and others who are fighting to make this thing, A, make the bad thing not happen, and B, make the good thing, which is Social Security expansion, happen?
So there's a lot to do. It's first of all, you can just go to socialsecurityworks.org. So you don't have to take notes right now of all of them. If you sign our petition to expand Social Security, you'll be up to the minute on everything about this fight. But their plans are deeply unpopular. The government shutdown itself is deeply unpopular. When you explain to people that the government shutdown, this unpopular thing, is being used to push through cuts to Social Security, this even more unpopular thing, people hate politicians for that. So who are the politicians who are most at risk from this? Every Republican is on board with this. It's just how much they lie and obfuscate. But the 18 Republicans that are in Biden won districts, right? So they represent districts that Biden won. They are in incredible political peril on this. And we should make that peril greater. If you are even near those offices, show up to the office with a sign that says "Stop the War on Seniors." We'll help you do it. We're going to be doing as many of these events as possible all around the country. We are going to be targeting some of those districts. And that is a huge pressure point for us. And at the same time, making sure that the Democrats actually realize that the people have their backs, that the Republicans should get nothing. Like the negotiating process should be the Republicans are like, I want to hurt everybody in this country, all working people in this country. I want to punch them all in the face. And the Democrats should just say no. And there will be chaos on the Republican side because, you have Matt Gaetz, who is going to, try to kick Kevin McCarthy out of his speakership. And you have these, say, the 18 Biden district Republicans who are just trying to not lose their jobs next November. So we have to do everything we can to heighten that friction in there, to increase it, and to make it very difficult for the Republicans to maintain any sort of unity on their disastrous proposals. The Democrats keep saying no to the Republicans' deeply unpopular ideas. Don't give them anything. And then within the Republican caucus, we need to just increase the difficulty of maintaining unity. And the easiest way to do that is by really making it visible of what these 18 Biden district Republicans are doing, which is a war on seniors. I'd also put Lauren Boebert in there as well. It's not a Biden district, but she won by like 400 votes, and she's eminently beatable. And she just got kicked out of Beetlejuice the musical for being it's like ridiculous.
I consider a metaphor for her entire party, that they're the loudmouths ruining things for everyone. So I'm all for kicking them all out of theaters or any other seats they might be holding at any given time. But all right, so socialsecurityworks.org. Alex Lawson, first of all, thanks for standing up to Mitt Romney. I couldn't happen to a nicer guy, him that is, to be put in his place. And believe me, I could go on and on about Romney. I've written about him a lot in the past. But
good riddance to him. Good riddance to Mitt Romney. This town will be better without him.
or as the British say, good riddance to bad rubbish. And thanks for your great work on this issue, of course. And as always, Alex Lawson of Social Security Works, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back after this. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is Zero Hour.